Hello, everyone. It's been a while. So, welcome to today's live questions and answers. And we're going to be talking about perimenopause. And so, I forgot to put the topic in to Instagram. But anyway, if you're wondering what the heck am I doing out in the woods, that's because I am in Idaho, just outside of Coeur d'Alene. And it's so beautiful here, you guys. For those of you who are from Coeur d'Alene, or from Idaho, I envy you. Maybe not the potato land, but everything else. And it's like everyone I said to my friends, I'm gonna spend the summer in Idaho. They go like, why would you do that? Which I thought was a rude question. But then it really is quite a spectacular place. So I'm at the ground with just surrounded by forest and just the ability of being in nature and being out in the fresh air every day with my dogs and in my camper van, which is a self-sustained Mercedes Sprinter that's got like everything in it. Just makes a huge difference. It makes me happy. It just makes me so happy. Even if I have to work, because yes, I am earning my business from the road now, it just makes me so happy. So today we're going to be talking about perimenopause, as I promised in the email that went out this morning. And if you are watching this on replay, then I just want to let you know that we are going to be doing giveaways. They're going to last till today is Tuesday, Monday, right? No, today's Tuesday. But Tuesday, right? And so that's gonna let's keep this open, Jen, until Friday, and then on Friday just decide who we're gonna do the giveaways to. So that giveaways is the whole perimenopause kit that contains a number of different nice products that helps women with perimenopause. And then number two is my book, Overcoming Estrogen Dominance. You guys are gonna get this for free. So yeah, so the giveaway is gonna be based on what kind of questions you're asking, and we're also gonna do an extra bonus if you tag someone, another woman who you think you this might help, you might want to help. And if you tag her, and even more so if she responds to us, then the book is gonna go to you. Okay, so that's that. And the other announcement I have is that we just launched our perimenopause quiz, you guys. That would enable you to understand like how far into perimenopause are you. And it's gosh, it's taken us like months to work on this quiz. Surprise, surprise. So what you can do is just go to wellena.com /Peri quiz. So WELLENA, that's our brand name, right? Wellena.com /Peri quiz, PERI quiz, QUIZ, sorry. Yeah. So one other thing I just want to mention before we dive in is I am on satellite connection. So where I am, there's like zero coverage. That's how I love it, because then there's not many people. The only thing about this is that I am using satellite connection, and sometimes it's unstable. So there's a possibility that I might either drop or freeze. And so, but don't worry about it. I will come back as quickly as I can. And typically that reinstates itself within 20 to 30 seconds. Okay. So some of you are saying that you have already taken the quiz. So Cassandra, I'm curious, what did you get out of this quiz? And what came up for you, and which symptoms are you experiencing? So today we're talking about perimenopause. You know, the reason why we are, you may know me, some of you who follow me for a long time, you may know me as being the thyroid diet coach. So I started with thyroid, Hashimoto's, because that was my history, right? And then I pivoted towards estrogen dominance and wrote a book about it, Overcoming Estrogen Dominance. And so, and again, that was because it was my story. I started going through quite a big symptomatic estrogen dominance journey. So I thought there's not enough resources, and especially put it in a succinct way that's presented in a beautiful way. And so I wrote a book about it, Overcoming Estrogen Dominance. That's the book we're giving away today. And then, and then life has put me into perimenopause, and which was kind of a surprise, because I always thought to myself, with my lifestyle choices, my diet, I really, I really should not be experiencing this. And the first thing that started happening, which was pretty benign, is changes in periods, right? And so we're going to talk about this in a second, but changes in your periods is a very normal thing that happens with perimenopause, because your ovarian function starts to decline at that point. So that's very normal. So my cycles at first became shorter, and now they're much longer, meaning that I'm getting a period once every 2-3 months. Okay, and it's very scanty. It's a lot shorter. So that's how it starts. It started off that way about 3 years ago, but guess what? And then I got the hot flashes, and I was like, "What? Me? Hot flashes? How can it be?" And with my diet, and I don't have blood sugar problems, and I'm taking care of myself, and I'm not inflamed, and I'm sleeping well, and I'm prioritizing sleep and all of that stuff, right? Well, the sleep went out of the roof too. That went out of the window rather. And so suddenly I'm finding myself having trouble sleeping and then having hot flashes. And what do you do, right? So this is where first I want to tell you that perimenopause is the most normal phase of any woman's life. Okay, so let's just normalize this. There's nothing wrong with us. It's nothing wrong when you start having your periods that are your cycles that are a lot shorter and then they become a lot longer. So I just want to assure you that that is the most normal phase of life. The challenge with perimenopause, unlike menopause, is that menopause is very clearly defined. If you don't have your period for the entire 12 months, boom, you're in menopause, right? And then you can test things like FSH and LH, so follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. And your GP might say, "Yep, welcome to menopause." The thing that no one is talking about is before you get to that point, this is when a lot of women are suffering through that period before menopause. And that's when I feel like it's not enough is being said about it. So this is why we decided as a team, based on my own personal experience, a lot of the gals in our team are going through perimenopause. We decided to really create a lot of resources and a safe space for us to educate, give you a lot of resources on reading, lifestyle changes, diet changes. And when I say lifestyle, it's predominantly things like movement and sleep. And then what kind of supplements and herbs can you bring into your daily protocols in order to feel better? Okay. So there's so many questions that came in. Thank you, you guys. So you're an awesome audience. Like, one of the things I love about this community is your quest for self-improvement and your quest and curiosity about your own body, and not surrendering to being like a victim, and be like, "Oh, the thing is happening to me and hot flashes are given." And no, they're not. It does. In fact, there's a lot of things that we can do to improve it and feel so much better. So let me just to say, I don't want to spend too much time on perimenopause symptoms because we create a ton of resources for you. I've been talking about perimenopause, in fact, this whole entire month. I was on vacation most of it, but I pre-recorded a lot of the videos. So you can see me in my nice white kitchen in Colorado, in Boulder. That was because I pre-recorded those before I left. And everything that's out of the woods, that's currently being done. So now you know our little secret. But anyway, there's a ton of resources we created about symptoms. And so I don't want to go through the whole list. You could also take the quiz, right, on wilena.com/Peri quiz. Jen just posted the links in both. Jen, did you also post that in Instagram? If we could do that, or if we have that, making sure we have that in our bio, in our bio links as well. So the issue is, so let's just kind of step back a little bit and talk about like what's happening. Why are we suddenly catapulted towards perimenopause, and why are you feeling so off? And from the quiz symptoms, you will notice that yes, the most symptomatic and normal thing that a lot of you are experiencing, that you kind of know it's your hormones, right, is when you are when your cycle starts to change. And that's because it's our ovaries that are producing progesterone and estrogen. It's not the ovaries that produce. So just for those of you who are more advanced, it's technically not the ovaries that are producing progesterone. It's the corpus luteum that is producing the progesterone. But I'm just going to call it ovaries for simplicity's sake. And the thing is that as we age, it's very normal for our ovarian reproductive system to start switching and be like, "I'm retiring. Okay, I just want to have a break. I've been working really hard and having babies or not. Like, I never had children, never wanted them. And I'm just, you know what? I'm done. I'm retiring." And so it's a shutting down of the reproductive system. And then until you settle into full menopause, and that's when things kind of settle down and you are in a new normal. But in between being fully fertile and having regular cycles and being a fully functional, normal human being to being in menopause, there is this crazy time called perimenopause. And so the first thing you're going to start seeing, as I said, is the cycle changes. Longer periods, then shorter periods, then longer periods. heavy periods for some women. Some women are experiencing PMS like as if they were 15 years old again. You might also start seeing spotting in between your cycles, right? And I want to assure you, as long as you have ruled out everything else, meaning that it's not cancer, you don't have any uterine issues going on, right? There is no, if everything else is in order, you had your pap smears done and everything is looking normal, then most likely you're going through perimenopause. So those are things that a lot of women know and they realize. What a lot of women don't realize is there's a whole host of symptoms that are connected to perimenopause, which women are super surprised by. And so for those of you who follow us for a while, I think, for the past month, one of the biggest ones that I see the surprise is how much dental issues and gum issues, changes that are happening with the changes in estrogen levels. So first of all, as we're going through perimenopause, because of the shutdown of ovaries and changes in the uterine lining, we are experiencing lower estrogen and progesterone levels. Okay, so a lot of the symptoms I'm going to be talking about that are due to estrogen and progesterone going down, but there are other hormonal imbalances that are making perimenopause a lot worse. So let's talk about those in a second too. So when you have a declining estrogen, what's interesting is that estrogen, something a lot of women don't realize, is that estrogen actually also helps us to monitor, for example, to maintain a healthy microbiome in the mouth. In order for you to have healthy gums and healthy teeth, we need to have sufficient levels of estrogen. So estrogen, as it starts dropping in perimenopause, it creates a microbiome disruption. And our gums and teeth depend on a healthy microbiome. So suddenly you might find yourself having a lot of receding gums, bleeding gums like you've never had before. Some of you said, I bite on a bone and then boom, instead of cracking the bone, I've cracked my tooth. Like, what the heck is going on here, right? And it's super scary, obviously, when you suddenly, you're just like crunching on a bone and you go like, oh. And that literally happened to my girlfriends. So many of you have acknowledged that, and you were very surprised by that. Another thing that happens a lot with perimenopause is the changes in our uterine, strength, right? So you might find yourself, for example, going incontinent. Incontinence is a real big issue, and so for example, you might be standing and laughing, having a really good laugh, and you suddenly pee yourself, right? Or you're skipping rope, or you're lifting weights in a gym, right? And you're doing some weight training, and you suddenly go, I leaked myself, right? And it's embarrassing, and it's when that happens. But there's nothing wrong. It's a decline of testosterone, estrogen. Because remember, when we are declining in estrogen, it's also our testosterone that actually starts dropping. Because testosterone gets converted to estrogen. So it's DHEA first, and then we have DHEA converts to testosterone, and then testosterone gets converted to all the estrogens. So when estrogen is low, that's also because testosterone a lot of the time is low too. And testosterone is what gives you muscle strength, nice subtle skin, right? So sagging skin is one of the symptoms of low testosterone as well. So those are some of the things. The other thing that a lot of women report is changes, right? So brain changes, suddenly being really moody, testosterone is a really interesting hormone because you can kind of explain male behavior of just being fearless, right? Just like going for it and being more aggressive and assertive. And so we have testosterone as well as women. In fact, I believe that women who tend to be more on a confident side, I think tend to have a little bit more testosterone natively. But then as it declines, you might suddenly find yourself a little bit more meek. Like you feel like you don't have a voice, like you're afraid to speak out, And Jen, how are we doing for connection? It's showing me a very poor connection. Are we doing okay? Okay. All right. Says it's okay. So, Starling, don't be so hard on yourself. We are doing okay. All right. So yeah. So that's basically take a quiz and then see in the quiz how far are you into perimenopause. We divided the quiz results into you just enter it and you just probably like welcome to the journey kind of a thing, and then the other one is like you're probably full on perimenopause, and you will see it there. So let's see, what else can I tell you? There is a couple of there's few other hormonal imbalances that so let me just, so low testosterone with estrogen is one symptom. Another symptom is low progesterone. So progesterone also starts dropping pretty quickly. And your low progesterone predominantly looks like this. You are beginning to have sleepless nights. And so that's just not, you can't sleep through the night. You wake up a lot and you're feeling a lot more anxious. Progesterone has the receptors in the brain, same where the GABA is. So for those of you who have ever taken GABA at night, you know that it helps you to fall asleep and just calm down. So progesterone is a very calming hormone. So deficiency of which is causing that for you to feel this way. Okay, so those are some of the big ones. However, let's not also overlook estrogen can also play a big role in the quality of your sleep. In fact, there's research showing connection between estrogen and the quality of deep sleep in women. So that's another consideration. So it's not just progesterone; it's also estrogen, correct amounts of estrogen. What makes perimenopause even worse is when you already have, declining estrogen and progesterone levels, and then on top of that, if you have a few other things going on. Cortisol is one big one, right? So stress. Combine that with, how many of you here have experienced the kind of thing where you kind of feel that you're going towards perimenopause and then something stressful happened and you suddenly got this hot flashes from hell. I got my first hot flashes last year when I was preparing for a similar trip, but for 5 months I went to the East Coast in my camper van. And the amount of preparations, and doing it alone with 2 dogs and still running the business from the road, it wasn't and I feel like my nervous system got zapped a little, and that's when I developed my hot flashes. I never had them before. So um the so how many of you here feel, what I'm talking about, like stress just brings on, amplifies these hormonal imbalances, like, or maybe you got like a hot flash from it, or just started having sleepless nights that you never had before, right? The other hormonal imbalance that can make everything worse is a blood sugar balance or imbalance, right? So insulin response, so high insulin levels, high blood sugar levels. And what happens then is that your estrogen is already going down, your progesterone is going down, and then suddenly your blood sugar levels are out of balance, and that can really hurt you even further, elevate the inflammation in the body. It can get you to eat a lot more, develop belly fat. So, for those of you who tend to carry a lot of fat around your belly, right? Like I tend to carry my around, like, I know you can't see me, but let me step back a little bit. Like I carry my weight around there in my butt. For those of you who tend to carry everything around your abdomen, that tends to be more of a metabolic disorder of having high insulin levels. You're not clearing that insulin quick enough. You're not clearing glucose fast enough from the body. The body needs to deposit that glucose somewhere. It goes into your belly. So God forbid me, it says not being able to sleep is horrible. It really is. And if you go to our website, the content website, Hormones Balance, Hormones with an S, hormonesbalance.com, I've written an article that's called Fixing Sleep After 45. I really want to encourage you to check out that article because it really is. I've spent 8 months writing that article, researching it and experimenting on myself just to really hone down to what is important. And yes, progesterone, estrogen are important, but there's a lot of other things you can do to improve your sleep, including addressing blue light, which is a huge issue for a lot of women. So like looking at your phone till late at night, one of the big culprits. What time you eat, what time you have alcohol, what time you have caffeine can all play into the quality of your sleep. And let me say this, as we get older, I feel like we just get more sensitive to things. You know what I mean? It's like, that the whole thing about like when we were younger, right? Our bodies were so much more forgiving. Like you could just go out there and party and do a lot of things, right? It was like a no big deal. And then now that we moved into our 40s and 50s, there's just like our body's just not as forgiving. But at the same time, the way I like to look at this is that the more time and investment we put into our bodies now, the better we're gonna age, right? The more we reduce risk for diseases in the future. Although it's almost like you're protecting yourself by addressing perimenopause. You're also protecting yourself, not just address the immediate symptoms, but you're protecting yourself from an onset of Alzheimer's and cancers and Parkinson's and a lot of the degenerative diseases further down the road. And I think as women, we appreciate that a lot. Guys are not like that. That's why I don't like to work with men, because they're like, give me that testosterone. I've got, I've got erectile dysfunction. That's all they want to know, right? I think with women is very different, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so honored to be working with women. Okay, so why don't we jump into questions? And I've got a whole list of those already that you guys have been sending. So let me just quickly go down the list, and then we jump into those questions that you guys are posting right now. So how do you know if you're in perimenopause? So based on the symptoms I described, but you can also do a test, and that test would be not your blood test, but it will have to be done through either urine or through saliva. And you can do saliva testing through like ZRT labs. I think you can order their stuff online through canaryclub.org. So that's one option. You do saliva, and then if you have a practitioner who can order Dutch for you, D2UCH, Dutch, like the Holland, the country, those are excellent places to start, and they will show you the range. The other way is if you work more with a practitioner, like a conventional practitioner, and he or she is not too open to doesn't even order these sort of tests, then one way to do this is to measure your FH and FSH and LH, so follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone, and there are ranges there specifically for women in perimenopause. Now, perimenopause is not age related, okay? I've been getting messages from a number of you saying that, your daughter, who is 35 years old, was diagnosed to be in perimenopause. And it's not often that it happens, but because of how unhealthy we are becoming, it's not super uncommon. So remember how I talked about cortisol can bring the sugar, can really mess up your whole cycle. The amount of alcohol we drink, right? Stress, blood sugar balance. So all of those things can induce an early perimenopause. Of course, unless that perimenopause is due to some surgical changes and things like that. But so it's not age related at all. It's where your hormones are at that point. So that's how you know where you are. And so I think that takes care of the testing question as well. Somebody, a number of you have written to us and asked, like, what does estrogen dominance look like, and why do you say, why is it that I have estrogen dominance while I have low estrogen, right? Which is a really great question. That's the question we get on a regular basis. Am I getting like a ray of sunlight here? I am. I'm so blessed. I'm like in a little aura. The sun is gonna move, you guys, so it could be like I'm gonna finish this call with like a full-on sun. So it's totally possible. Estrogen dominance, it's basically a hormone that is a hormonal imbalance that can manifest in two ways. The way you're breaking down estrogens to clean and dirty is one way. The other type of estrogen dominance is your ratio to estradiol to progesterone is off. You basically have too little progesterone and too much estradiol type of estrogen. And can you experience that while going through perimenopause? Absolutely. Because even though your estrogens, the first type, even though your estrogen levels are dropping, the way you're breaking them down to clean and dirty estrogens, even though they are lower and dropping, it can be unfavorable, right? And then the second one is, yes, both of them, estrogen and progesterone, are dropping, but their ratio can still be off, even though both of them are low. So this is the reason why, estrogen dominance would manifest in the form of symptoms such as, for example, fibroids or fibrocystic breasts. And so many of you have said that ever since you enter perimenopause, like your boobs are really painful. By the way, we're doing a flash sale starting in 2 days' time for Happy Sisters. So if breast health is your issue, your challenge, then stay tuned for that flash sale. We're doing 40% off our Happy Sisters kit and 30% off single products. So that will be, sorry, something is poking me here. That's what happens when you're out in the woods. It's like you get bitten here, then your dog falls into a hole. My dog fell into a hole. I had to pull her out because she was chasing something, and the adventures never end. So, so there is, so you can actually, a lot of women are like, why am I suddenly having a fibroid out of nowhere? That's because you have estrogen dominance while going through perimenopause. In fact, estrogen dominance, I believe, the older you get and you're experiencing estrogen dominance, the more problematic it is, because especially the dirty estrogens are the metabolites that are causing the damage in the reproductive organs. And so breast cancer in most women is a fibrosis, is an estrogenic form of cancer. And so that's why it's called estrogen receptor positive breast cancer. And those metabolites of estrogen cause the growth of those cancers. So, it's not the women who are in their 20s who get that kind of cancer, it's the younger women, it's the older women, sorry, right? And even though our estrogen is dropping, we are still experiencing this kind of cancers. Why, right? So that's because so the answer is that's because of our liver. So if you have my books and follow us for a while, you know that taking care of your liver is one big part of mitigating and addressing perimenopause and having a good hormonal balance, is because the liver is responsible for metabolizing, breaking down your good estrogens to clean estrogens and dirty estrogens. Okay, so that's mainly what it happens. It also happens in the gut. So, yeah, so that's estrogen dominance. What can you do about hot flashes? Okay, so let's talk about that. And I do actually want to grab a drink after this because I just realized I didn't bring my bowl of water and it's kind of dry here. So, hot flashes is definitely something that, first of all, I want to just acknowledge for those of you who are going through hot flashes, it's not, I'm sure you agree with me, it's not just the hot flash itself. Like during the day, having a hot flash is like no big deal in a way, right? It's like you suddenly get hot, you're like, okay, whatever, go away. But it's the thing at night that I found the awful because it wakes you up. So the ring I'm wearing here, right? It's called the Aura ring, and it helps me get a full report on my sleep. And when I wake up and when I had those hot flashes, it was basically showing me like basically like every hour and a half I'll have micro wakings, right? And then I'll wake up and I'm tired. Even though I slept 7 to 8 hours, I know and I feel tired. And now I understand why. And sometimes it would just completely knock me out of sleep and I can't go back to sleep. And so this is where I feel like it's a problem with hot flash. It's not the hot flash itself, but it's the how it disturbs our sleep. And once you don't sleep well, I don't need to tell you how terrible you feel, right? So what do you do with hot flashes? There's a couple of things. Correcting your estrogen levels is one thing. Correcting your progesterone levels is another thing, because it could be one or the other that's causing the hot flash. If hormones are not helping you, then let me also say that you can do a couple of things. For progesterone, you can do topical progesterone. Some of you who have practitioners who prefer oral progesterone, do your research. I'll personally would never take oral progesterone just because it is yet another thing you're putting through your digestion. I don't want to tax my digestion and my liver anymore. I'm a bigger fan of topical progesterone, and so you can do progesterone topically. You can also do chasteberry called Vitex. And in Germany, in even mainstream medicine, Vitex is used as a form of progesterone correcting protocol for women who are either having period problems or going through perimenopause. So we are gonna actually be releasing it in a couple of days in our store called Chasteberry Plus Plus. So stay tuned for this one. It's a new product that we're launching. So that's one way to correct progesterone levels. How do you correct estrogen levels? A few ways. One is through food. You can do that through 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed on a daily basis. You can do that through herbs such as black cohosh, red clover, dong quai, maca. All of them contain something called phytoestrogens, and those are the good estrogens. Okay, those are not estrogens you need to worry about making your estrogen dominance even worse. Okay. So that is something that some women have incredible results. In fact, if you have a history of breast cancer, you should not be doing topical estrogens. You could be like those botanicals that I just mentioned, and flaxseed is a really great option. Some women have phenomenal results with soy. Just talking about food, I forgot soy. Just make sure that if you're doing a soy extract, it is done from a non-GMO, so organic soy, that it does not have any additives in it, and it's a really nice and clean product. Some women really swear by it, and it really helps them a lot. So those are ways to, through phytoestrogens, improve your estrogen levels. There's a couple of other herbs also that just come to mind. Hops, Norwegian hops. So actually one of the reasons why men have boobs, you guys, is because of hops. Because hops is so rich in estrogen, and it actually gives men boobs. And then the other one would be Norwegian spruce. And another one which we're actually about to launch, well, we're having some production challenges, but we're going to launch. So it's gonna come out, you guys. It's gonna come out. It's all gonna be good. It's called Hot Flash Mama, and a Hot Mess Mama, and Hot Mess is coming out, and it contains Russian Siberian rhubarb, and that's an incredible herb also with an efficacy for hot flashes. So in the meantime, research this a little bit. You can get those. So those are all very high in phytoestrogens. We also have a product called Estro Boost that contains Norwegian spruce and hops in it, and it has got some very strong research showing like how it can really help to elevate your estrogen levels. So that could be one way of overcoming hot flashes, correcting progesterone, correcting estrogen. Now, does that work all the time? Not necessarily. If you're stressed out, if your blood sugar levels are very high and you're inflamed, probably those interventions alone we're not going to work. So you've got to control your blood sugar levels, reduce the amount of sugar you're consuming on a daily basis, back off from coffee because it's inflammatory. If you have not done the elimination diet, I want to invite you and encourage you to go off gluten and dairy and reduce your sugar intake to no more than 20 grams a day. That could make a huge difference. Lastly, alcohol, is we have had so many, and I think that's because alcohol is not only inflammatory, but also messes with your blood sugar levels. A lot of women have reported saying that ever since they gave up coffee and alcohol, or they have, started drinking alcohol maybe later in late afternoon and not in evenings, right? Then their hot flashes have improved significantly. So those are some of the solutions, high level, on hot flashes. You guys, I'm just gonna grab a glass of water and then I'll be right back. Sorry about that. All right. Who likes this spin drill thing? By the way, they're not paying me to say any of this. In fact, nobody's paying me anything ever to say stuff. So I love them because they use real fruit and there's only like super low in sugar. Like this whole drink contains only 3 grams of sugar, and it tastes so good. It's got like a splash of pineapple juice in it. So good. It's one of the nice things about having a camper van. You can have a cold drink from a fridge. Okay, so beautiful scenery. I know, it's Idaho. Isn't it just amazing? I love Idaho. Some of you are asking about progesterone. So topical progesterone, we sell actually 2 types of topical progesterone in our store, Susanna, if you would like to give us a try and support us. One is a cream and the other one is an oil. So, oh, God is like really sending rays down on me. Okay, all right. Jen, why don't we just take some questions from our viewers to engage them a little bit. Jennifer is saying, I had to stop progesterone cream because my numbers were so low. I feel much better. How long can I stay on the cream? Is there side effects of staying on a hormone replacement long term? No, actually, so the answer is you can, once your progesterone starts dropping, right? It's like, let's take a look at what is it going to look like maybe 5-6 years down the road. It's going to be like if your progesterone was up here during your reproductive years, then in menopause it's going to be more like down here, but it's going to be nice and stable. Okay, so a lot lower. And so the answer is that most likely you're going to be having to stay on it to feel good. But however, if you enter like full on menopause and you feel like maybe you don't need it anymore, I think you should just then stay off it and then see how you feel. I totally completely hear you. Excuse me. That's what happens with sparkling water. You get the burps. That's what happens with hormones, right? Is that it helps you feel so much better. But if you are worried about it, which I don't think you should be with bioidentical hormones, we actually have pretty good track records and safety profiles on it, then taking a break from it might be a good idea and just see how you feel after that. Annie saying, if I had hysterectomy and I can't track my periods, how do I know if I'm in perimenopause or menopause? 43 years old, still having ovaries. Yeah. So here's a little, let me actually just make one comment before I talk about that. So even though women who have the ovaries left and had a partial hysterectomy, they call it, what happens is by removing the uterus, the major blood supply to the ovaries is removed. Okay. So it is just a matter of time before the ovaries start really slowing down. So that's something doctors don't tell you, which I think it's I'm not sure why, whether it's like false hopes or whatever it is, but your ovaries are going to slow down anyway, not just because of aging, but it's also because of the major blood supply being cut off. So if you have a hysterectomy, then first of all, it's a good idea to do your full hormone panel. If that was me, I'll do a full hormone panel, I would recommend, and then see where you are with your hormones, combine it with your symptoms, and then work with a practitioner on putting you on a plan. Whether it's like, why did you have a hysterectomy? If this was because of an estrogenic cancer, then you definitely should not be doing estrogen as a topical, and you could be considering a lot of different botanicals that I mentioned, and then correcting your progesterone levels as well. So it's all about testing and combining that with your symptoms, really. Somebody's saying here about just want to mention that body odor changes. Yeah, that's another thing, is you experiencing body odor changes is one of the things, you guys, we talk about in the quiz. Take the quiz and you'll be so surprised to see how many really weird symptoms might be happening. Changes in the taste in your mouth is another one, strange body odor. So yeah, okay. Pam is saying, I'm taking your Wise Women Balance to Progest Pure Cream. Try to eat healthy, and my hot flashes are absolutely horrible. I've counted on average 20 a day with severe sweatings each time. How can I approach this naturally? Thank you. So a few things, Pam. One is, first of all, I want to thank you for your support, and then also trusting us with information, applying all that stuff, and like keeping a healthy diet. I'm assuming you've done a lot of talked about, like getting off coffee, especially not having coffee on an empty stomach, or reducing alcohol and lowering your inflammation. If that's not helping, one thing I would recommend for you is to work with a practitioner, get a full panel done, and hormone panel like Dutch, and then see whether with that you could possibly be then adding with a practitioner, adding something like DHEA for testosterone, then converts into estrogens. That could be a really solid plan for you to do that. If botanicals were not working for me, I would have gone the DHEA path as well, just to address that. That way you have a very quick conversion from DHEA to testosterone and then estrogens, because there's the other thing is, maybe before even doing that, try our Estro Boost, that product that has hops and Norwegian spruce in it. There is research studies that we posted on our sales page about how Norwegian spruce helps to elevate estrogen levels, and that could be another, which has got more phytoestrogens as compared to Wise Women. Wise Women only has, I think we only have in there Black Ahosh, I believe, or is it Don Quai, one of those. So, okay, let's take another question. Actually, Jen, let me do one from Instagram. What can I do to help with sexual interest? Yeah, so in women, that's very much of a function of DHEA, testosterone. So that's something, by the way, DHEA, testosterone in women is produced in our adrenals. So supporting your adrenals will immediately help you with DHEA production and with testosterone production as well. But with women, it can also be estrogen, it can be progesterone. So it's not with men, it's like one simple thing, right? testosterone, boom, right? Low testosterone, no sex drive. Testosterone up, busy in a bedroom, right? With women, it's a whole combination of things. And so it can be progesterone, it can be estrogen, it can be DHEA, it can be testosterone. So you need to measure or experiment with every one of them and then see. The Art of Easing says, I'm 41 and I have had heavy periods and long cycles for the last 2 years. I've had major diet lifestyle changes that has helped shorten the time and flow, but still heavier and longer. Yeah, so, I don't know, have your full health history, but if you look at my book, Overcoming Estrogen Dominance, I lay out there the whole thing of, of like, where are your blind spots, right? We all have blind spots. Like, I do this for a living, and so it was my job to put this book together in a meaningful way that covers all angles. And so you will see there things like, everything from skincare products to toxicity in a kitchen, in a bathroom, blood sugar balance, right? Like, those are alcohol consumption, and so on and so forth. And so that's something to be really consider, and to really see where those gaps are that you can fill in. Cassandra is saying, definitely agree with alcohol and body temperature. Yeah. What is the best? So I already answered a question about progesterone. My issue is the insomnia has just started last month. Can you talk about supplements other than melatonin? Yeah. So check out hormonesbalance.com, our education website, and look for the article called Fixing Sleep After 45. And there is a lot of things. I actually kind of not even a fan of melatonin, and the doses that are recommended sometimes is just way too high for people. So there's a lot of other things you can do, and it's actually not through supplements, but a lot of it is. Let me tell you the things that impact my sleep in the biggest way. And I'm out of many millions of women who probably have the same problem. Number one is blue light. If I don't put on my red or blue light blocking dark glasses, so those are like orange, very unsexy, not good looking glasses, and I don't care because I want to do anything to protect my sleep, right? And so if you're reading glasses, your doctor told you that it's got blue light blocking glasses, it's true, but only blocks like 10-15% of the blue light. You've got to have something that blocks 70-80% of the blue light, and that will be those very unsexy orange glasses. You can get them on Amazon. The other thing, I mean, this is, let me just tell you, in my case, it's so severe that if I don't put them on like 7 p.m. and I go to sleep at about 9, so these 2 hours before, and in summer it's kind of hard because you forget that it's getting late, right? Because it's like, especially up here in the north, it's like, oh, it's so beautiful. Oh my gosh, it's already 7 p.m. I'm going to put on my glasses if I'm looking at a screen. So, and then any kind of screens, right? Whether it's your computer, whether it's your tablet, whether it's your phone, your smartphone, your TV, right? All of that emit huge amounts of blue light. And as we get older, we're producing less melatonin, and that's why you need to protect your glasses, those protective glasses, from blue light. That's number one. Makes a huge difference. The other huge difference for me is alcohol before going to bed. I actually stopped drinking in February ever since I got COVID. And so I haven't touched any alcohol since then, and I feel amazing. And that's one of the most proudful moments I will pat myself on the shoulder for having done, is to give up alcohol. It just calmed me down a lot. I sleep so much better, so on and so forth. I've lost some weight as well. So alcohol, especially before that, can be a huge sleep inhibitor, especially in women. It also impacts your liver in a huge way. The other thing is what time I eat and what I eat before bed. It makes a huge difference. That time the worst. I try to eat 3 to 4 hours before going to bed, and guess what? You guys not gonna guess. You're gonna laugh. You're gonna say I'm completely crazy, but I'll still share this with you. That having a bowl of cereal, like a bowl of, sorry, not cereal. I don't eat cereal. A bowl of oatmeal, like with some pumpkin seeds and maybe like some, I don't know, veggies in there or whatever. So not sweet, but more on the savory side of things. But even if it's in a banana, I sleep like a baby. And I know that's not dinner food, right? You're probably gonna, like, I know, like, I'm looking at like how many people are gonna drop out of this call going like, she's completely out of her mind. Look, especially if experiment. I just want to invite you, try it out. You could have a bowl of, some other grains and have some other nice things in it, right? And just see how you feel. The thing that kills my sleep is when I do something very heavy. So like fried food, a steak, lots of starches, like a typical dinner of uh, steak and potatoes, right? Just before going to bed, I will, I will have the worst sleep ever. And I look at my Aura ring then, and it tells me, you gotta slow down for the day. Don't do anything. Just sit your butt down and do nothing, because it's just so bad. So, Rena is saying healthy carbs at dinner really helped me sleep better too. Yeah. So it's, or like a modification for you would be like for example, last night I steamed. By the way, I posted some of my breakfast ideas, but I had some of that for dinner too. By the way, I eat the same food for breakfast and for dinner. Just FYI, the whole breakfast idea was just developed by the Kellogg brothers. As an industry, we used to pretty much eat savory food for breakfast. So if you can learn how to do that, it's going to be a huge game changer for you and simplify things. But anyway, so I had like a sweet potato. I had some. I steamed it. Because I don't have an oven here. I'm in a camper van, and I steamed some sweet potato and beets, and I had it on a bed of salad, and I had like a tiny bit of chicken. That was my dinner. And, but I would feel even better if I had a whole bowl of grains. So, okay. So what other questions do we have? What is the best, let me just do one more from Instagram, and then I'm coming over to the side here, Jen. Somebody's asking, what is the best estrogen for postmenopause? So let me just first define like the whole terminology of what postmenopause is. It can be really confusing. It's actually, if you really think about it, there is perimenopause, right? So like the phase that we are talking about right now, and then you enter menopause because you're officially in menopause when you've had no period for 12 months. And that's it. There is no postmenopause. So when you're in menopause, you already are in postmenopause. Okay, so let me just clarify that. Postmenopause, so best estrogen for menopause. The often solutions that you find in the market, so like from say a bioidentical hormones perspective, is BIS, so is estriol, the T3, and estradiol, E2. So try it out and see if that works for you. If the estradiol, if you have a history of breast cancer, you do not want to do that. You want to then try a different botanicals that I already talked about those botanicals earlier on this call. All right, Jen, let's pop some more questions. Brandy's saying, I've been on the estrogen reset kit for 2 months and still no weight loss. Any suggestions? And yes, I'm holding more fat in the stomach and thighs. Yeah. So, so there's more fat in stomach and thighs. So both. Okay. So there's, weight loss is a complex topic, right? Because there's so many other factors apart from estrogen dominance. Could also be insulin. How are your blood sugar levels? How is your thyroid? What is your level of inflammation? And you can measure your inflammation through doing the C-reactive protein test. What is your sleep like? What is your how is your digestion overall, right? Have you tested for heavy metals? And so there's so many things that can play into weight loss resistance that it's just not a topic I can cover today. However, we have Brandy, we have an article that talks about weight loss, and I outline a lot of things to go and look at. You really have to be your own detective. Anyone who tells you they have an answer for you right away, I would say run. You're going to be better off just to create a list and be going like down the list and be like, how's my thyroid? And learn how to properly measure your thyroid numbers and not just like what ordinary doctors are telling you. And I've detailed that out in that article, the 5 different markers for thyroid that you need to measure. And if you don't address your thyroid, then the estrogen reset kit is not going to help you, because that's a kit that doesn't address thyroid conditions, right? How is your blood sugar levels? That's a big piece. And women with belly fat, some of you here have been asking about belly fat. So belly fat is largely to do with a lot of inflammation in the body and high blood sugar levels and some kind of level of insulin resistance, which is very common in women in perimenopause, just because, insulin is is the key that opens up the cell, right? And lets the glucose in. But as we age, especially when there's too much of that insulin, it's like these cells are so tired to be knocked on the door all the time, right? And you're like, leave me alone. And they don't want to leave, they don't want to open the door. And so that insulin is circulating. It's not able to sweep out the glucose and get rid of it. And so it needs to deposit it somewhere safely. And that's your belly fat. Okay. So when you have belly fat, balancing your blood sugar levels, get it tested. What is your blood sugar level today? Your HbA1c, your fasting glucose, your insulin levels. And then what are the lifestyle changes you need to make? Look at your diet, look at your breakfast. How much sugar do you consume? In fact, Brandy, we did a whole, I can't remember which month that was. I want to say like 2-3 months ago, we did a whole segment of belly fat. And so if you just scroll down our post on Instagram or social or Facebook, you'll see there's a whole bunch of resources we've created about belly fat and how to reduce blood sugar levels. My favorite is to start off with a savory breakfast, like the ones that I often post on Instagram and on Facebook, just to inspire you guys, saying like, look, you don't have to do cereals and like healthy cereals and figuring this out. Just have dinner leftovers. It's easy and it's healthy and it's going to sustain your blood sugar levels, give you energy throughout the day. You don't crave sugar, you don't crave caffeine, all of that good stuff. Okay, next question, Jen. Jennifer is saying, nearing the end, I think, went 332 days without, started December 2022. Countdown started over, now 7 months, nothing. Wondering if progesterone cream could help the symptoms still, or should I just write it out? So, I mean, what are your symptoms, right? Like, I don't, countdown started over, now 7th month. Okay. So, I mean, clearly you're going through perimenopause. The question is like, what symptoms are you experiencing, right? If you guys, if you follow us, just scroll down our resources. We don't just post like stuff on social just to create noise and chatter. We post things like, I actually spend hours writing briefs for my team to create it into social assets, just so that you know. So this content is very well thought out. And one of the things that I was trying to communicate through perimenopause is like, what kind of perimenopause do you have? Surely your estrogen and progesterone are dropping, but then what else, right? And like, how is your cortisol levels? What about your blood sugar levels? What about your inflammation? Excuse me. And if you address those issues, then you know what kind of perimenopause are you in. Then you can start addressing things well. So asking about progesterone cream, I mean, what symptoms do you have, right? Do you struggle with sleep? Do you struggle with libido? Do you struggle with like suddenly being very anxious? If that's the case, then progesterone might help. But if it's other things that are due to, and by the way, in the content we've created for you, we detail out like, what are the symptoms of low estrogen? If you're taking a lot of those, then you'll be like, well, then I need to correct my estrogen levels, not really progesterone then, right? Then go and correct your estrogen levels. And we have products for you that you can choose. I don't carry an estrogen or DHEA cream at the moment in our store. We might consider doing that. But in the meantime, you can go and find other practitioners and providers that can help you with that. Okay. So scroll down the content, figure out what kind of perimenopause do you have. If I was to sit down here right now and read every symptom for every single one of these hormonal imbalances, there's going to be another 20 minutes. So you're going to do the homework. All right. Let's do another question. Why do I feel bad after applying progesterone? So there could be a couple of reasons. One is because maybe you don't need it. It could be because you are, there's a couple, so there's also what kind of progesterone, right? So is it like a really nice bioidentical progesterone with no additives and anything added to it, like the way we make it? Or is it some other ones that has like phthalates in it and fragrances and stuff like that? So that could be. There's a couple of theories on why some women respond badly to progesterone. If you are going through a very stressful time, that could be one reason. There's other hypotheses that women who are going through candida, who have candida, yeast overgrowth, might not do so well with progesterone. And so, the alternative is like, if it's not working for you really well, there's a couple of things you can do. Reduce the dose by half or even less, and then just start, and then go up, the dose to the intended dose. But if that still doesn't work for you, the other one is you can try chasteberry, also known as Vitex. That could be potentially something that helps you with the symptoms instead of doing topical. Kimberly is saying, taking Happy Sisters Kit for 3 weeks, feeling the best I have felt in a long time. I did, however, start spotting for a few past 2 weeks. Could taking a probiotic and nutrition supplement cause this? So no, I don't think a probiotic would cause this. The Happy Sisters Kit contains a supplement, and that supplement has quite a lot of stuff in it that helps you to metabolize estrogen correctly. So, it could be that you might need to back off from it. It could also be that it, adding a bit of actually spotting is oftentimes actually a sign of low progesterone. So we don't have anything in our estrogen reset kit that corrects progesterone levels. Okay, so Kimberly, one thing you could add is try adding some bioidentical progesterone and see whether that helps you. Typically, because that's one of the definite symptoms of low progesterone. Happy Sisters helps you metabolize estrogens. It doesn't help you raise progesterone levels. We just didn't want to, sometimes the challenge with designing products is like, you want it to be having a lot of features and help a lot of women at the same time. If it has too many features, then people will be like, oh, but I don't want that. I don't want that. And so we just decided not to put anything that boosts your progesterone levels. But you can add this in as a chaseberry or as topical progesterone. Let me see what we got on Instagram here. Are you taping this to listen to later? Yes. So I am. Once I hang up, I'm gonna add this video on Instagram to our feed. Thank you for your support. Many of you are saying you're gonna be getting the book. Thank you for the support. I so appreciate it. Do you soak your grains? I don't, just because I'm lazy. But in a perfect world, I would. When you travel in a camper van, it's like, yeah. But anyway, even when I'm at home, I'm just not super organized, to be perfectly honest. So let's see. Okay. So I think we have, let's see, there's other questions that came in through email. Okay. So I'm just going to wrap this up today, you guys. By the one question a lot of people have asked, and I know it's like, that's a common accusation that we get is this, like, you've got so much of content, you've got so much stuff you're talking about, like, where do you want me to start, right? And even my team keeps saying this to me. It's like, we get this email saying like, I love your content, but I don't know where the heck do you want me to start, right? So I totally get that. So the first thing is, I think unbiased approach to this is to really start with your diet, because the chances of a lot of things resolving by themselves by you just going on an anti-inflammatory diet that is nutrient dense and supports your liver can be very profound. And the chances are you don't need to do anything else, meaning your hot flashes improve, your cycle changes, all of that. And that's the reason why I wrote 2 books, Cooking for Hormone Balance. And then I wrote the second book, Overcoming Estrogen Dominance, and both of them are available on Amazon. Now, that's, I think, foundational. If you're going through a time in your life, and I want to recognize this, and I realize that a lot of women are just like, you know what, I'm going through a really stressful time, and I just don't have the bandwidth, emotional, mental bandwidth to be making dietary changes. I totally get that. So put it maybe somewhere in the back burner. So, and that at some point, and do what you can, right? Like, if you can just at least get off gluten, if you can reduce caffeine, if you can reduce alcohol, right? Those are like easy things to change while you're going through your life, and then when you can do like a full elimination diet, then you do it. Then when you come into perimenopause, I would say again the same thing. Whether go by the symptoms that we have identified for you in all our social posts. Are you low on progesterone or are you low on estrogen? Are you low on both? And then we have resources for you. What do you do? If you're low on progesterone, you've got Vitex or you've got progesterone cream. If you've got low estrogen, you've got these botanicals, you've got soy, you've got flaxseed. And if that doesn't work, you can go into looking into using like DHEA or estrogen as a cream, all right, bioidentical hormones. That could be a plan at first step. Now, next is what makes your perimenopause even worse, right? Let's say you've implemented that, what I said just now, and you're like, I'm still symptomatic, and it's like things are still not great. All right. Then you look at your next level, which I think the biggest one that really undermines everything is going to be stress. And it's physiological, you guys. I mean, I think we're all so sick and tired of going like, oh, anti-stress solutions and like reduce your stress. It's like, no, I mean it. It's physiological. Your inflammation goes up, your cortisol levels go up. Your cortisol, think of it this way. For those of that lady who asked about weight loss, right? Let me give you another example of like why I can't give you advice, because I don't know who you are and what your challenges are. But let me give you an example like with stress. Your cortisol levels being constantly up and up and up. Guess what? Cortisol is a steroid hormone. You've all known a person who's gone off steroids because of some treatment, right? What's the first thing that happens to that person? They blow up, right? And that's what steroids do to you. So when you are constantly injecting yourself with higher steroids, cortisol levels, of course you're going to put on weight because you're kind of like self-inflicting yourself with this ongoing release of of cortisol, which is a steroid hormone, right? So that's going to be, is stress running your life, right? And if it is, then there's so many resources that I want to offer you. And it's not just about popping adaptogens. And it's bad for my business to say this. I'll be like, oh yeah, take our adrenal TLC. It's going to take all your problems away. It ain't going to take your problems away. When you have real stress going on, the question is, where is it coming from? How can you reframe it? What can you do? What are the changes in your life you need to make in order to prioritize you and prioritize your health and not worry about anything else, right? To regain your health. Those are the things that's going to make a big difference. I feel like adrenal TLC, like the product that we have in our stores, got some nice adaptogens in it, and it really plays like a supportive role. If you prioritize your sleep and you do all these other changes, like reframing your thoughts. Let me give you an example, like reframing your thought. It's like seeing the issue, but from a different angle might just make you feel so much better about how you feel about the issue, right? And finding some good in even in the bad situation that you're in. These sort of reframes can physiologically change how everything feels for you, okay? So, those are going to be the things, big difference. Okay, and then another one, but let's say you might say, you know what, cortisol is not my issue. Like, I don't really have a lot of stress. That's not the challenge. My challenge is blood sugar levels. Okay. I crave sugar. I'm a sugar addict, right? First thing I wake up, I think about sugar. And, and so correcting that is going to be really key, right? So if you don't, then your perimenopause is going to be throwing you through real hell. So this is how we design the whole perimenopause. I know it's not straightforward. I wish I could just give you, be like, hey folks, make 3 diet changes. Here are 2 supplements. Buy from me. Everything is going to be rosy. I know this is going to be a better business for me to say that, but I will not be truthful. I will not be effective as a practitioner. You guys are going to come back and be like, oh, that shit doesn't work. Like that, nothing has changed. So I also want to come to you from a place of integrity and tell you as it is, but it gets a little bit more complicated than just giving you one point solution for everyone. And every one of you is different, right? So that doesn't make things any easier either. Okay, I think we're gonna start wrapping up. So I hope today's live Q&As was helpful. And if you're watching this on replay, just post your questions down below. And Jen, let's try to make a commitment like sometime on Thursday, Friday to come back here and take a look at the questions and point them in different directions if I haven't answered the questions yet. So, the light now is so nice here. I can't tell you how happy it makes me that I can connect with you. I can be out in nature. I can be standing here and I've got this beautiful breeze that's going by and my doggies are right next to me and we're going to go and go up a pedal board and we're going to go paddling around Coeur d'Alene this afternoon. And so I'm so excited just to be able to do this and yet work and do meaningful work, which I hope has helped some of you today understanding a little bit better of what's going on. And just to finish this off, I want to assure you everything you're going through, the craziness of perimenopause is normal. However, we can make all these changes we talked about today for the past hour to normalize things so that you sail into perimenopause. It does not have to be hell. And so that you sail through it nicely into menopause, where you enter a new phase of your life, where you find a new self. Maybe you find new creative pursuits and suddenly a much better appreciation of who you are as a person, and having a lot clearer boundaries and a lot of visibility and clarity of what you love and what you don't love, and not having to say yes to everything, and maybe finding some creative pursuits that you never had the time or bandwidth or resources to do when you were younger. So there are some amazing, I'm actually excited to go into menopause. To be honest with you, I can't wait for my period to stop. I just got it a week ago. I'm like, after about 4 months. So I'm still a little bit away from full-on menopause, but I'm actually really looking forward to getting to that place, because I feel like it's a place of great wisdom that a lot of women can be blessed. And I feel like I'm being put on this earth to help you get into that spot as well. Okay, so don't give up hope. Don't be angry with your body. If your body is showing a lot of symptoms, it's because it's asking you for help. And so it is your job to find out what that help is and give it to your body so that you guys play together really nicely. Okay. Have a great, happy Tuesday, everyone. And we'll see you sometime soon again on one of our other live Q&As. Bye for now.